The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. Go to PoundDiscGolf.com to learn more about their innovative design and when you can get your hands on their next custom drop. And by Skybreed Discs, a top online disc retailer with all of the modern amenities. Pictures of every disc on the website, box shipping for every disc so nothing gets messed up in transit, very low flat rate shipping with free shipping over $50 orders. If you use code WORLDS21, you'll get 10% off of your order, and they're a preferred partner of Ledgestone and the Great Lakes Open. They've got a ton of inventory. Go check it out, skybreeddiscs.com. Welcome to The Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I am the publisher, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield. Josh, round one of Worlds is in the books. I'm sitting just outside of the 18th green here at the Mulligans Golf Course. Water behind me. There's some geese hanging out. And it's like 95 degrees still at 7:20 p.m. Mountain Time.
It's definitely been a case where the weather this weekend is definitely, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be just as much of a challenge as the course, as the mental game. It's hot. Well,
let's talk about an exciting first day. Just going to quickly run down some of the top names to top of the leaderboard if you're just kind of catching up. I know that not everybody can just dedicate their entire Tuesday to watching disc golf. So right now in MPO, Nate Sexton and Ricky Wysocki are tied at 10 under par. Then you have a number of players at 9 under par: Kevin Jones, Calvin Heimberg, Dallin Blanchard, and Thomas Gilbert. And then a huge logjam at 8. I'm not even going to read all the names. You go basically 18 deep at 8 under par, and then another big chunk of players at 7 under par. So those are the names at the top of the leaderboard in MPO. Over in FPO, Paige Pierce has a one-shot lead over Haley King and Sarah Gilpin. Paige Pierce at 3 under, Haley King, Sarah Gilpin at 2 under, Valerie Mondahano at 1 under, and then Lisa Fakis, Katrina Allen, and Madison Walker at even par. Lots of players within 5 shots of the lead in both divisions. But, I mean, especially so, you've got a ton of players within 2 shots of the lead in MPO. That's 18 different players within 2 shots of 10 under. So that's the story first and foremost. Josh, you've been consuming from home for now. I've been here at the course. I called the action during the FPO broadcast this morning on Disc Golf Network. What's your initial takeaways from today?
The first thing I do want to add, Kristen Tatar is also at even on the FPO side.
Thank you. Somehow I just missed that when I looked at UDisc.
Yeah, so they got the 4 people there.
Absolutely even, true. Just FPO completely, I don't know, maybe the American flag not being next to her name made it invisible to me.
Well, I've got her picked at number 5 right now, so I had to make sure to point that out.
Get that credit?
Yeah, you can't dock it yet. I'm on a good start. I think what stood out to me is just how close the scoring conditions are for both sides, MPO and FPO. They both stayed really close, especially on the MPO side. It's very clearly everybody's game at this point. And I think that's kind of something that's incredible for the fans. It's something we saw at Portland Open. It's something we see a little bit more traditionally in golf, where the scores are a lot closer at PGA majors as well, relative to what we see that oftentimes happens in disc golf, where you get a breakaway of 2-3 players who really just push for the lead and nobody else is going to catch them. I think this means that players are going to have to be, every shot is going to have consequences moving into the next day and for the rest of the rounds. And it's going to be interesting to see if someone can really pull away or if we're just going to keep up this logjam for the weekend.
Well, I tell you what, there's been, if you listen to the press conferences yesterday, you heard a lot of complaining about the courses. Some of it was just brutal. I'm going to be honest. I think players don't particularly care for these courses, especially Mulligans. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. If it delivers this kind of scoring, like condensed scoring, we are going to have an electric final 2 rounds. Electric. Now, there's a lot of golf between today and, Friday and Saturday, but I still think that it's exciting to have so many people in the mix. And how about this? Both 5-time world champions and defending world champions, Paul McBeth and Paige Pierce, looking very good today, but they both double bogeyed 18. Paige double bogeyed 18 at the Fort, Paul at Mulligans. And that dropped Macbeth to 7 under, 3 shots back, and it cut Page's lead from 3 down to 1. And I'll tell you what, it makes things kind of spicy. And I have to say, it's like kind of exciting to have this kind of close condensed scoring, something that we haven't really gotten that used to. But you're still seeing the good players near the top. It's not like we're seeing kind of fluky weirdness. It's just that there's a lot of players capable of getting birdies on a lot of holes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the way they get birdies is different. And that's something I really appreciate about, for example, mulligans. Let's look at our 2 leaders here, Nate Sexton and Ricky Wysocki. I know you got to see him live in action. I'm just watching kind of stats and coverage. So Nate Sexton had a really good day on, I want to say weekend. We've still got a lot of golf though. Had a really good day on the putting green. 83% from Circle 1X. Not bad, but not incredible. 40% from Circle 2 though. So and overall, a really solid putting performance, kind of what we expected from mulligans. He did have 78% fairway hits. That'll become noteworthy when we go over to Ricky. Ricky, 75% from Circle 1X and 20% from Circle 2. Not going to cut it for the week. The reason Ricky's in the lead, though, or tied for the lead, 100% fairway hits, 72% in Circle 1 in regulation, and 100% in Circle 2 in regulation.
That is crazy.
So, incredible games and days from both Sexton and Wysocki, and completely different ways about how they did it. And I think that's something I also really appreciate about the kind of the way the scoring is breaking down for the 2 players and the field as a whole.
And a lot of players are throwing really well. You know, you mentioned Chris Tatar being at even. She looked great throwing the disc today, and had a couple bad breaks and some struggles around the green. I have to say that, but from the tee and from the fairways, so smooth. And Paige Pierce looked great. I mean, Paige Pierce had as I said on the broadcast, a magnet in her disc. Like from Circle 2, she could not miss hitting the basket in some way. Now they didn't all go down, but she was throwing great. I caught a bunch of the MPO feature card out on the course and then watched some more on the broadcast while other players were coming in off 18. And wow, I mean, it's a real pleasure. And the folks, there were some solid number of spectators out here today. The folks who came out on the Tuesday, which respect for that, in this heat, got to enjoy, Eagle McMahon, Garrett Gerthy, Calvin Heimberg, and Paul Macbeth just throwing bombs.
Yeah. And
I know some of these holes are easy for these guys. Just legitimately super easy. It's a wide open shot. They just blast it down the middle of the fairway, and then they have a chip shot up to the basket to take a birdie. But it is, it can be kind of fun to watch them see who can outdrive each other. Eagle had the longest drives I saw today, although Double G had a couple just beautiful shots. So, yesterday in the press conference, Calvin Heimberg said that there isn't really score separation out here for the 1050 plus rated guys, who are typically the guys who can throw the furthest. He said that anybody over 1020 is going to have a chance to win this tournament. And there's pros and cons to that. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think, could we come away feeling like the best player on the planet didn't win? I suppose. But over 5 rounds, I do think we're going to see the cream rise to the top, as it seems to every year. And I kind of like the change of pace where there's holes that everyone can get. And it really comes down to being precise and really executing your shots. I think placement of the disc on the green or, in the landing zones is going to be the name of the game, along with particularly Circle 2 putting, which is a big story today at the Fort.
Mm-hmm. And I think something else that's important on that point is that the holes that people are birdieing versus bogeying, Sexton, for example, missed his 20-foot putt on 17, bogeyed 18. Ricky birdied both of those. That's 3 stroke swing in just the last 2 holes. So yeah, I get that some players say, well, this course is easy. There's not a lot of scoring separation for the guys above 1030, 1020, 1040, wherever you put it. But I think what's significant is that doesn't mean that it's a gimme. Every hole requires, like you said, that precision. Otherwise, you're going to start losing strokes. On the FPO side, I think that we definitely saw the case that the putter was just absolutely essential. Paige, 100% from Circle 1X. Didn't miss a putt from C1X, and that's why she's on top. But Haley King as well, 80%. I mean, good numbers are being put up. 80% from Sarah Gilpin, 83%. Valerie Mondahanu. They're raising to the level in the skill that we expected them to have to do. And that, even if that means that the separation on the FPO side doesn't come in the drives and off the tee pad, but really in the putting, I think that that's still something that makes for exciting and valuable disc golf.
And I promise you, at Mulligan's, we're going to see big separation for the long throwers in FPO. That's been a theme of what we've heard from comments from players, and I think tomorrow, we're going to see some player, Ella Hansen didn't have a great day today at the Fort, but I think she's going to bounce back big at Mulligan's because she's going to be able to just bite off more distance than a lot of her competitors. She finished third in the long drive competition at the World Championships behind Paige Pierce and Jennifer Allen, the two players that she said can throw further than her when she was here on the Upshot talking about that. So yes, indeed. All right. I talked to Nate Sexton and when he came off the course. I mean, he was really on a heater. At one point I looked down and he was like 9 under through 14. And the best score of the day at that point was 9 under. Ended up coming in at 10 after giving away some strokes on 17 and 18, like you said. He said to me that he got caught up thinking about what it might be like to throw an 1100 rated round, and it kind of threw him off in those final holes, especially as there are, more of a crowd forming. Here's Nate Sexton at the end of his round today. Here's what he had to say. I know it must suck to end on a bogey after that kind of round, sure. But you still got a one-shot lead. How was it feeling out there?
It was fine, man. Yeah, I was playing well. Just got ahead of myself a little bit at the end, dreaming about shooting an 1100 rated round. I didn't know. I knew I was playing well, but yeah, then just kind of let go a couple strokes at the end. But overall, good day. I'm not going to hang my head.
Yeah. How do you feel like these courses set up for you? I mean, I don't think we got a chance to hear from you yesterday, so...
Just fine. Yeah, fine. This is not oppressively long. Neither is. So I think I'm in with a chance for birdie on almost every hole, so that's all I can ask for.
How do you shift mentally between playing this, super wide open and then dealing with the Fort tomorrow?
I don't experience that much of a mental shift. Certainly some different discs will get a little more time in the air than they did out here, but it's all the same stuff. You just try to hit your shots, hit your fairways, and hit putts. So,
what do you make of the fact that we have a ton of people within, 2 strokes of the lead right now? I mean, there's 1 million people at 9 and at 8. It's just like a lot of condensed scoring. Is that this course laying that out, or is there something else going on, you think, because it's Worlds?
I just think players are good. There's a lot of good players, so doesn't surprise me at all that it would be tight through 18 holes.
Is there anything that you have to think about in terms of pacing with just the conditions, and having been here before and 5-round event and all that?
Pacing in terms of
how you shot selection maybe, or just dealing with the conditions?
No, I mean, you just got to be prepared for the conditions. It's hot, so I got a cooling towel, got an umbrella, got a caddy with an umbrella, got a lot of water, but that's pretty basic. Yeah, you just got to stay as cool as you can. As far as shot selection, it's just play your best option.
Sure. What part of your game felt best today?
I don't know. I felt like they were going where I wanted them, so I guess the drive.
Okay. You know what it is like to be the leader in major. Does this change anything about how you feel?
No, I'm happy. That's all. I'd be sad if I played bad. I'm happy because I played well.
All right. Thanks, Nate.
Yep.
All right. So that's what we heard from Nate Sexton. Thoughts on what he had to say, Josh?
I think that what it demonstrates, kind of going back to that precision that we talked about, is that I've played these holes. I know what these courses are like, and I recognize why a 1050 or 1040 rated player might feel that some of these are kind of easier gimmies. But an NBA player should never miss a free throw, and yet Giannis is shooting 50% right now in the playoffs. It's about focus. It's about rising to the occasion. It's about precision. And so I think that Nate actually hit it right on the head when he says that his game plan and the mentality between the two courses have to be the exact same. That you can't take holes for granted. That you have to recognize the scoring opportunities when you have them, and you have to stay in the fairway.
He's going to be a force to be reckoned with. I feel like I overlooked him before the tournament a little bit because he's been away and he hasn't been scoring that well. But then again, he comes back and it's like massive 12,500 foot courses, and now we're out here on an 8,500 foot course. So Nate Sexton can dominate with this level of distance. So that's going to be something fun to watch. And a shout out, by the way, to Sarah Gilpin, 2 under. She'll be on the lead card tomorrow. Had just 2 bogeys on the round and was, putting great, 80% from circle 1, 50% from circle 2. We'll see how she hangs in there against some big throwers, Paige Pierce, Haley King, Valerie Mondojano over at Mulligan's tomorrow. But I'm impressed. And, Gilpin, not somebody who's out on tour, really. But her results from this season, I think, let's take notice. She finished 5th at the Silver Series Mid-America Open. She finished 10th at Dynamic Discs Open. So, legit player. Let's see if she can keep it up. Looking forward to seeing her out there on the lead card. I also got a chance, Josh, to talk with Dallin Blanchard, someone I know is from your neck of the woods.
Yes.
And also somebody who's not out on tour. He talks about that. Let's hear from Dallin Blanchard. He's 1 stroke off the lead, 9 under. He also gave away a stroke late, his lone bogey coming on hole 17. So very much would have been capable of being up at the top. Missed a couple of circle 1 putts as well. Here's Dallin Blanchard from Idaho Falls. So I guess first thing I'd love to hear is just, could you tell me a little bit about, your background? You're not somebody who's a familiar face on tour for a lot of folks.
So I am 34 years old. I've got 4 kids, wife, full-time job. So I can't get on full-time tour like every event. So my plan and my goal is like to hit at least a couple pro tours a year and worlds, hopefully qualify for USDGC and try and get to those ones every year. But so for now I'm a full-time accountant up in Idaho Falls. Graduated from college from BYU Idaho. So that's kind of my plan, playing a little different game than most all the other pros.
9 under today. That's right now. That's the top scorer of the first round. How'd you feel about the way you played today?
So I played really well. I feel like I was putting well. I hit 2 to 4 outside the circle putts. Kind of when I got to, what hole was it? So 13, I missed about a 40-footer. 14, I missed about a 40-footer. And then actually 12, 13, and then 14, I missed like a 25-footer. So those were kind of my only mistakes of the round. Other than that, played pretty clean, hit my birdies, got in the circle, made my putts.
What do you see as the challenge or kind of the approach you have to take on this Mulligan's course?
Just got to stay in bounds, find your landing spots, have a good game plan, don't deviate from the game plan. But obviously with the huge wind today, it was tough.
And have you been able to comfortably manage the heat and elevation? I don't know where Idaho Falls is in terms of elevation, but is this, do you feel comfortable from a kind of just element standpoint?
Yeah, so Idaho Falls is 2.5 hours north of here. So, and it's a little lower in elevation, but not much. So this is what I'm used to. I play in it all the time. I play in the wind all the time. Idaho Falls is a very windy area. The heat hasn't bugged me. I've just drank a lot of water and stayed hydrated. Where were your expectations coming in, and does being, right now at the top of the leaderboard change anything about the way that you look at the rest of this week? It doesn't change the way I look at the rest of the week. I'm just going to continue to stick with my game plan, especially at the fort, hit my lines, stay in the middle of the fairway. That's the whole goal. As far as expectations, didn't really have expectations. I know I can play with anybody in the world, so that's kind of been my goal all along, and shot well today.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Appreciate it.
So there's what Dallin Blanchard had to say, and apologies for the background noise. There's a water feature that turns on here at the little pond right off the 18th green. Some nice drama here on 18 at Mulligan's, by the way. Sets up beautifully for spectators. It's a short hole. It's an ace runnable hole. I saw a couple people hit metal today, but you can also just go in the water and take a bogey. And we saw it happen many times. Thoughts on what Dallin had to say?
Dallin is... When you look at the registration in a local tournament in my area, if Dallin Blanchard's name's on it, then it's kind of like put Dallin's name at the bottom of the check because he's taking it home. He's over 1030 rate. I think he's 1036 right now, but I might be wrong about that after the last update. He's an excellent local player who plays these courses regularly, and I think that based on what we saw at the Utah Open last week or 2 weeks ago, and just kind of what we saw today, I think Dallin Blanchard, if he continues to play his game well and doesn't let the pressure of the moment get to him, has a legitimate chance of staying in the top 10 at a world championship, which for someone who only hits a couple Pro Tour events every year, I think is exceptionally well done for him.
Dallin, again, 1 stroke off the lead. I mean, so many players are up in the mix. Eagle McMahon had some early bumps, got a couple early bogeys, but then really picked it up in the back 9, birdied the final 3 holes. He finishes at 8 under par. I like something that Nate Doss said on the broadcast, that this tournament doesn't really get started until Thursday, after players have played a round at each of the courses. Mm-hmm. And then we kind of have those final 3 rounds. And I think that's true in a way. I don't want to overly read into today's results, because tomorrow it's so different with MPO and FPO switching courses that you kind of need to wait and see how the scores compare across these 2 rounds before you start thinking about who could win this event.
Absolutely. And especially given the fact that tomorrow on the completely different course, it's not unreasonable to imagine that some of those guys who are 2 or 3 strokes back score 2 or 3 strokes better than the ones who did well today. And that complete flip with so many people just tight near the top, both for FPO and MPO, I think means that there's going to be a real shuffle tomorrow that might even make it hard to read into who's really dominant. I think if we see someone come out who's in the top 10 right now, or top 4 or 5, probably top 5 in FPO, who just shoots an amazing round tomorrow, I think that's the person who you might have to look at as the favorite. But again, you got to remember, MPO's playing 3 on the fort, FPO also playing 3 on the fort, so that Mulligan's round tomorrow for FPO may not hold the same significance as the MPO round that's going to be at the fort. So today's rounds might be the most telling so far of what we can expect for the FPO over the course of the week.
Yeah, right. 3 at the fort, 2 at Mulligan's. Mm-hmm. And we'll see where the scoring separation comes. I expect an MPO it's going to be more at the fort, and an FPO it's probably going to be more at Mulligan's. So let's any quick thoughts on any of the other players up inside the top 10 or that didn't play as well as you expected today before we sign it off.
I think there's a lot. Dustin Keegan, Dan Hastings, Kayla Viska. I mean, some real good names. Mason Ford, Austin Hannum. A lot of guys up there around 7th. I would say probably the one that surprised me, and I mean, he double bogeyed at hole 18, but seeing a 19 next to Macbeth's name at a world championship is weird. It's 75% circle 1X putting. It's same what Ricky threw, but the difference is that Ricky was 100% fairway hits and Paul is 78%. It wasn't as clean. It didn't feel as confident. And even though, I mean, he's close, the double bogey otherwise keeps him up there at 9 under, just 1 under off the lead. The back 9 was just so quiet for Macbeth. There were 5 pars and a double bogey to his 3 birdies. I think Macbeth is the big standout to me to that question. What about you, Charlie?
I mean, here's what I got to say. If I feel like I'm standing alone out here picking Paul Macbeth to win this tournament. If Paul Macbeth birdies 18, and by the way, his tee shot was really close to being amazing, and then trickled OB, and then he kind of like catches the bad bounce for it to go OB a second time. But if he birdies, which he's probably going to birdie it the next time they play Mulligan's, then he's at 10 under and he's tied for the lead. So I hear what you're saying. I mean, I watched him play some holes where he wasn't super dialed. Like, he shorted a couple shots. He missed a putt or 2 here or there. He didn't really have it super locked in from circle 2 the way we've seen him the last couple of events. But at the same time, I mean, he birdied 5 of the first 6 holes. He went 6 under through the front 9. And didn't really get it going in the back 9. But I just feel like the narrative swinging on the double bogey and it's a big deal, don't get me wrong. To be at 10 under instead of 7, I think definitely matters. But I also think that it's easy to overread into 1 or 2 shots, especially in a 5-round event where it's like more about, can you play pretty good every day? If you do that, you're probably going to finish in the top 10.
Sure. And here's the one thing I do want to say, kind of back at that. It is 5 rounds. But with scoring separation as close as it is, those 3 strokes at this tournament are huge.
You're not wrong.
It's not like he can just go to the fort tomorrow and say, "Oh, I need to pull back 3 strokes real quick." That might take him 3 rounds to do of matching Ricky stroke for stroke all the way down, except for 1 stroke he's better. I mean, 1 more slip up, and Paul finds himself 4 or 5 strokes back from the lead if Ricky plays well tomorrow at courses that just don't set up for going on a hot tear. Remember, Nate Sexton's 11 or 12 under would have been 1100 rated. It is a 5-round tournament, but Paul can't take all week if he's going to try and make some miracles happen. And I think the big thing then that I know that it's 1 hole, but tell that to Kevin Jones. 1 hole. It happens, and 1 bad hole may be the reason we're asking if Paul McBeth had gone into the lead on lead card day 2, would it be different? So
yeah, it's fair. It's true. Especially if scores stay tight, those 3 strokes could make a big difference. Nico, future world champion Locastro, 1 under today, so 9 shots off the lead. Gonna have to pick it up. How did Emerson World's Whisperer Keith do? While we're on the topic of players with recent nicknames, Emerson World's Whisperer Keith, 8 under today, 100% Circle 1X putting. But only went 1 of 11 from Circle 2, or maybe 1 of 9. Let me count them. 1 of 9.
1 of 9.
So, leaving some strokes out there, but let's keep an eye on Emerson Keith. He looked real good at the Fort at the Utah Open. Adam Hammes up there as well. He's 2 shots back of the lead. I mean, there's just a ton of good players up near the top. 2018 world champion Greg Barsby, 8 under today, bogey free. Yeah. James Conrad, he took a bogey instead of the birdie on 18. He would have been at 10 under had he not done that. Instead, he's at 8 under. So, it can be 1 shot swings here and there. Kevin Jones bogeyed 18 instead of birdieing. And by the way, it very much is you get a birdie or you get a bogey. He's at 9 under. So the way he was playing too, I mean, he found almost every single circle 2 in regulation except 18. Literally 94%. So there's, like I said, there's pros and cons to the lack of kind of exceptional difficulty of the holes. And what it's going to mean, though, is that even though we have these tight scores to start, when we get to the weekend, things could be very interesting.
So here's a question for you, Charlie. Going into, let's say Saturday. Saturday is the second round at the Fort. Or no, sorry, Friday. I meant Friday. Friday, second round at the Fort, and then Saturday is the third round at the Fort. Going into Friday, how many strokes do you think players are going to need to be within, to the lead in order to remain competitive? How many can you be off for 2 rounds left at the Fort?
Well, I want to answer that question after we see players at the Fort, but
okay.
Honestly, 3.
Okay.
I don't think that there's room. I mean, I guess it depends on how many people are ahead of you.
Sure.
But the idea that you're going to go out there and shoot some incredible round while everybody else falters doesn't seem very plausible to me. I think it's just there's enough holes that are pretty short, pretty straightforward. And there's some bad lucky bounce holes, but I think those tend to be sort of evenly distributed. So, you might get the bad bounce 1 hole, but then the other guy gets the bad bounce the other hole. So, 3 strokes, maybe 4, but a lot depends on how many players are up at the top. If it's 1 player all alone, and then there's a bunch of people 3 strokes back, I could see one of those players beating the person who's all alone. But if it's 5 players at, 27 under, and then you're sitting at 24 under, the idea that you're going to catch all 5, I don't know about that.
I agree. And that's the big thing, is assuming the scoring stays relatively tight. That's kind of the number I was looking for. So if scores stay the same, there's Charlie's pick. It's the 3 under mark. So if you've got a player that you're a big fan of coming into Friday who's 3 strokes back of a decent group, then that might be time to... They might still be able to pull it off, but after that, might time to be worried.
Keep an eye on Haley King, folks. She's 1 shot off the lead. She had the only birdie on hole 11 today, 368-foot par 3. And she was one of 2 birdies on hole 18. She and Katrina Allen got 18. She's creating... Talk about strokes gained. those are some strokes gained on the field.
Yeah.
So I think Haley King had some really nice moments today, and essentially just needs to hit some circle 2 putts. She went over 8, and yet is only 1 stroke off the lead. So I think if she can pick that up and find her way through mulligans tomorrow, it's going to be really fun at the top of FPO. She's looking sharp. All right. Go ahead. We got one more thing?
The last thing I was going to say, I think Paige Pierce is playing great. I don't think 100% Circle 1X putting is going to be sustainable for 5 days. She'll putt well, but she misses one of those Circle 1 putts, and we're tied between Haley King and Paige Pierce. So,
first round, everybody kind of it's like a fight. It's like a UFC fight or a boxing match. Everybody's out there kind of throwing out some punches, throwing the jabs, seeing how they're feeling out there. Val Jenkins said it this morning. You can't win it on day one. You can't lose it on day one. Although, I think you can lose it on day one.
Nico lost it on day one.
I mean, but you don't understand. It's Nico, future world champion Locastro. So, we don't know how he's going to get there, but he's going to get there. But yeah, I mean, you can only do so much on day one, and, you know, we got 2 tied at the top in MPO, and we have a 1-stroke lead in FPO. So,
yeah.
Let's get ready for tomorrow and enjoy, folks. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back. By the way, starting on Thursday, we're going to do live shows where you can listen in live if you want, and you can call in. We're going to take call-ins. Okay, so we figure people will start paying a little bit more attention, Thursday's round 3, and we want people to be able to call in. So if you got a take, you want to come in and you want to ask some questions, or you give your thoughts or have a hot take or whatever, we're going to send a link out. We'll put it on social media. We'll put it in the subscriber Discord, and you'll be able to jump in and we'll take some calls. So we hope you'll be able to do that and join us. Josh, looking forward to seeing you on Thursday as well in person. And everyone enjoy the second round of the Pro World Championships coming tomorrow. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long. We'll see you tomorrow here on the Upshot.